Greetings and welcome to News and TV. I am Makanaka Masenyama, and today I have Justice Lois Matanda-Moyo. Justice Lois Matanda-Moyo, how are you?
I'm fine, Maka. How are you?
I'm good. We are going to be discussing issues around the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. Justice Lois Matanda-Moyo is the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, and we're going to be discussing issues around this commission. Our viewers would want to know, who is Justice Lois Matanda-Moyo?
Okay, I'm a judge of the High Court of Zimbabwe, currently on secondment as the chairperson of ZACC. I've traveled through the legal profession from being a prosecutor to being a magistrate to being the Director of Civil Division in the Attorney General's office, Director of Public Prosecutions in the Attorney General's office, Judge of the Labour Court, Judge of the High Court, and currently the chairperson of ZACC.
All right. Yes. Probably kindly tell us the mandate of ZACC.
ZACC's main mandate is to combat corruption and expose corruption in both the public and private sector. ZACC also have a mandate to promote honesty, integrity, and accountability within both the public and private sector. Those are the main mandates of ZACC.
All right, indeed. Yes. You may need to tell us that there's been accusations in the past that ZACC commissioners were pursuing political factional agendas. What will be your comment on that?
If that was happening, it was in the past. At this moment in time, ZACC is apolitical. It does not pursue any political agendas. It takes any complaints from any political party. We do not, and we are not run by any political party. ZACC is independent, as is provided for in the Constitution of Zimbabwe.
Okay. Having said that, how professional are ZACC investigators, and who is part of this critical board of investigators?
At the moment, we just inherited investigators who have been with the ZACC from 2004, from its time of inception. We have recruited our own, but they are still going under vetting, and we are hoping that the vetting process will be concluded soon and that they will start work soon. However, at the moment, there are some investigators who are under investigations for alleged corruption, and we are cleaning ZACC of any corrupt elements, as ZACC do not tolerate any corruption within the institution itself. If an institution is set up to fight corruption, then that institution must be comprised of highly integrity people. There is no room for corrupt elements in ZACC.
All right, we have talked about recruiting new investigators. I understand that there have been many chairpersons of ZACC before. So as you took office, what is it that you're doing differently from the past chairpersons before?
What I'm doing differently is I want to take highly skilled personnel to be investigators in ZACC. In the past, ZACC has been relying on officers from the Zimbabwe Republic Police on secondment from there. But what I'm doing differently is that I shall be recruiting investigators from the universities, highly competent investigators, highly qualified investigators. As you know, corruption matters are highly complex in nature, and you actually require also highly educated and highly skilled personnel in order to streamline those cases.
Okay, you said you're going to be recruiting from universities. What requirements or what kind of profession does one have to hold to be an investigator?
We investigate all sectors of the economy, so we are recruiting from all facets of the UZ departments. We have got engineers, we are recruiting lawyers, financial accountants, we are recruiting data analysts, and bankers as well.
Okay. I understand that you're in possession of the National Social Security Authority audit report. And what have you done with it since you have started analyzing it?
We have analyzed the audit report, and it has given us a basis for investigating corruption within NASA. So far, we have arrested the former minister, who was a minister in NASA, that is Priska Mfumira. We have arrested Ngoni Masoka, who was a permanent secretary within the ministry, and some other officials within NASA. We are also expanding our investigations to involve all those persons and all those institutions named in the NASA report.
All right, having analyzed the NASA report and mentioned about the former Minister of Tourism, Priska Mfumira, do you think there is political will to fight corruption in the current dispensation?
Yes, from the highest level there is political will, especially from the President of Zimbabwe. But from some of the ministers, a lot still needs to be done. We still need to educate some of our highly placed officials so that they come on board in the fight against corruption. But from the highest level, there is political will to fight corruption.
Let me take you back on a case that happened last year when the Finance Minister Matanda-Moyo admitted that issues to do around the command agriculture was opaque, and that was through the Public Accounts Committee. Have you in any way started investigating issues around that matter?
Yes, we have started investigating issues around command agriculture. So far we are investigating companies where monies were paid and deliveries were not made. And we are also investigating on the beneficiaries who received the inputs, but if you get to the ground, there is no commensurate events happening on the fields. Take for example, a person could apply for 200 hectares of fertilizers and fertilizers and seed, but you go to the ground, that person only has 30 hectares. So it means that a whole 170 hectares worth of inputs were abused. So we are currently investigating those matters under command agriculture.
Okay, so so far that's what we have, nothing else?
Nothing else so far.
All right. Let me also take you to the case of which was reported in the Auditor General's report of the Ministry of Justice, which is said to have received 600,000 liters of fuel from a South African company and is said to be disappeared. Have you also looked into that matter?
That matter, firstly, we are going to send our compliance department, because from the Auditor General's report, it is not very clear whether she is saying there is a criminal offense which actually transpired, or that there was simply lack of accountability on how the fuel was used. So what we have within ZACC is we have got a compliance department which can go in first and look at whether the ministry complied with all the regulations and whether there are any elements of abuse or criminality in the way the matter happened. If they unearth any criminality in their investigations, then they will bring in the criminal investigators into the matter.
All right. You have talked about the compliance committee, which goes and looks into such matters. Let me ask that, does ZACC have enough budgetary support to deal with corruption cases in Zimbabwe?
We do not have enough budgetary support yet, but we are quite happy that the government is supporting us in all ways possible. We have been given money, and so far we've managed to purchase 20 vehicles, and our investigators are now all over the country investigating cases. So this year, 2020, we are hoping to investigate more cases as we now have more resources than we had last year.
All right. And since you came in office, you have said that people should come and report corruption cases.
Yes.
How many have come forward to report corruption cases?
Many people are reporting corruption matters, but would like more people to come on board. because what I've noticed is that our people are very much afraid, especially of those people in power. Some will come to report, but they don't want to testify. So they will give the report is anonymous. And yet when we go to court, you want actual persons to testify in court so that there is evidence before the court and which the court could use in order to come up with a conviction. So we are still counseling our members of society to be able to come forward and be able to testify without fear. But I want to believe that it's also because our legislation is behind. We do not have any legislation pertaining to the protection of whistleblowers and protection of witnesses at the moment. And therefore, there's been a lot of harassment of possible witnesses. For example, certain persons have been transferred from their jobs because they've reported matters to ZACC. And we've received so many complaints at the moment. And we are going to be dealing with such reports so that people are not allowed to victimize possible witnesses and any witnesses in corruption matters.
All right, let me take you back a bit. When you came into office, there's an article I read where you say that you will not spare any high-profile personalities when it comes to corruption. We have mentioned of former Tourism Minister Priska Mpumira. Who else of high profile whose case you have handled regarding corruption?
There are so many matters that we are investigating. So far we've got 74 high profile cases, but I can't give you names at the moment since investigations are still underway. But we do have a lot of those.
Okay, that takes me to current story of Mary Mbaiwa, wife to Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. There have been accusations that the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is in a way involved in the family matter or in the marriage of these two. How far true is that?
Okay, let me first of all say that I recused myself from dealing with the matter as both parties are known to me personally. As you know, my husband has been in the military for a long time. He has worked under General Chiwenga, and we've been associating with General Chiwenga and Mary Mbaiwa for a long time. So when the matter was reported to ZACC, I have not been part of that matter. I recused myself. But generally what I want to say is that ZACC does not involve itself in domestic matters. ZACC will only pursue corruption allegations. So if corruption allegations are brought by a person associated with that corrupt person, it doesn't necessarily mean that ZACC should not follow up on the allegations. But ZACC will investigate the matters, and should there be any grains of truth, then arrests will be made. As you know, with corruption matters, they are reported by a person who would have been duped in the process. You can have two corrupt persons and then one dupes another and the other one decides to report the matter to ZACC. So you cannot expect ZACC not to take up such matters simply because an interested party reported the matter. But if there are elements of corruption in the report itself, then ZACC will actually come in, but ZACC will not involve itself in personalities or in personal matters, but will simply focus on corruption matters.
All right, okay, that also brings me to this question that would you investigate your husband if he's implicated in corruption cases?
As I've told you, I will recuse myself, obviously, from investigating my husband. Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is not the only commission authorized to investigate corruption. The police also have a section within itself which investigates corruption. So if a person wants to report my husband for corruption, I will urge those persons to make a report to the police, not to the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, for transparency and for obvious reasons.
All right. Yes. Okay, so this is the new year, this is 2020. What do you intend to do or intend to improve in this new year as ZACC?
As ZACC, we now need to move a gear up in the fight against corruption. We should be witnessing results in 2020. Last year, we were just sworn in last year, and so we were still trying to find our way on what to do. In 2020, we now have the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which is now ready. We are going to launch that anti-corruption strategy sometime next month.
Okay.
Yes, and from that strategy document, you can then see how ZACC is going to be conducting its activities.
Okay. All right. I am Makanaka Masengama reporting for NewZimbabwe.com, and I have Justice Lois Matanda-Moyo, and we've been discussing on the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, the cases it has recorded so far, the mandate of ZACC, and what they're going to be doing in the year 2020. I think we have come to the end of this program. Thank you very much, Justice.
Thank you very much, Makanga.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, our viewers, for following us. For these and more stories, visit our website, which is www.newzimbabwe.com, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is News and TV. Thank you.